What's up everybody, Soul here with another sort of Convallaria video, and today we're going to be talking about Lutfi, how you can play him and he'll benefit your team, help you clear content, and get through the game. I've enjoyed playing him. He's a very versatile character, can do some really interesting things, and he's pretty fun. He's considered absolutely must-have in the meta, but I think that's debatable. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. First and foremost, let's take a look at his trait. His trait is Smiling Mask. At the start of the turn, he locks on the 3 random enemies within 3 tiles of the character and removes their alert status. This is very much unique, and this is phenomenal. I think there's going to be some content coming up in the future where I'm sure this will be absolutely imperative or really, really helpful at the very least. And so it's very cool to see this on a character. And then the rest of it is each debuff inflicted on the target before attacking increases the character's attack by 5% up to 20%. After casting a support or debuff skill to the enemy, for each debuff the target has, it inflicts life loss equal to 5% up to 15% of his physical attack for 1 turn. It can be triggered up to 4 times per round. And so that sounds really nice and really powerful, but it caps, at 4 times per round and this, that, the third. So it's really, really easy to achieve. It doesn't need anything extra. Everything in this kit gets you there in relatively quick fashion. Really, honestly, turn 1, you can pull most of this off. With that said, let's take a look at the ranks. So when we look at the ranks, let's take a look at this. Now at 2 stars, oh, I'm sorry, am I skipping anything? Nope. At 2 stars, the effect is improved. At the start of the turn, he locks on 3 random enemies within 4 tiles instead of 3 tiles. So 2 stars negligible. It's a slight improvement, but really nothing big. At 3 stars, he really breaks here, and there's one reason in particular. So his attack is increased by 5%. He locks into 3 enemies to 4 tiles, removing those alerts. But he gets right here. Duration of planning is reduced to 2 turns instead of 3 turns. That's really, really big because it was higher before. So it'd be 3 turns without this, but at 3 stars it gets reduced to 2. And then also down here, for each debuff inflicted, increases the character's physical attack is attacked by 5% up to 30%. Casting a support and debuff skill on the enemy for each debuff the target has inflicts life loss of 5% up to 25% physical attack. Can be triggered 4 times per round. So that's pretty interesting right there. 4 stars, it breaks up again. We of course get to where we give them a random level 2 debuff, and then we are affecting those enemies within 6 tiles now instead of 4 tiles. So that's a pretty big jump. And then that planning's still at 2 turns, but of course at 5 stars it makes a pretty big jump there, where it's the same 6 tiles. We're removing it, we get that 1 level 2 debuff, but now we are picking up the planning duration is reduced to 1 turn. And at the end of the turn, it additionally recovers 1 energy. That's really, really big. And then the final effect down here is 5% attack up by 5% up to 40% after casting a support or debuff skill on the enemy. For each debuff the target has, and inflicts life loss equal to 5% of the physical attack up to 35% now for 2 turns, and can be triggered up to 4 times per round. So this is pretty nice, pretty phenomenal right here. His trait obviously pops off at 5 stars, and I think he has a good breakpoint at 3 stars. Taking a look at the ranks. First, let's take a look at his innate abilities. So his innate ability, All's Fair in War, where he costs 3 energy cost. It's a support where he gains All's Fair in War, lasting for 1 turn. And so for 3 energy, you're gaining a dodge, and then upon the dodge being triggered, he teleports the attacker's back, dealing 100% physical damage, and gains dodge again for 1 turn. The effect is removed after triggering. So this is pretty decent. I tried utilizing this and doing some creative things and having fun with it. It's mid. It's not bad. And I mean, there's certain scenarios where this could be useful, but I'd say it's niche at best. So not the best ability in the world. It's certainly nothing wrong with having it in this kit. It's nice to have as an option. Now at rank 1, You have on the right here, summon bodyguard. Summons a bodyguard. Only one can exist at a time and can be used up to 2 times per battle. This is a decent ability. He can only, of course, like I said, use it 2 times per battle. It has a 2-turn cooldown and 3 energy cost. The bodyguard does not feel very strong. It feels weaker than Inanna's bodyguard, but I'm not sure of that. I don't actually know what the stats are off the top of my head, and I wasn't able to see that, so I might have overlooked it. Let me know what you think. But it doesn't seem as strong as Inanna's bodyguard, but it's decent, and it's got a decent ability in that knockback blow, and so it's okay. He might do okay in a summoner team. I'm gonna test it and play around with it a little bit and whatnot, but yeah, this is mid. And honestly, it might even be passable for that reason. I'd say it's decent. Over here on the left, you have extreme damage. This is a single target attack. It deals 150% physical damage. If the target is injured, in an injured state, the crit and crit damage is additionally increased by 30%. And when attacking, ignores assisting cover. It has a 3 energy cost. This is a very powerful ability, and it is a great single target attack on him. And so this is what I would suggest you to get. If you're going into a fight and you want to do single target damage for whatever reason, this is the go-to option. And I think it trumps Summon Bodyguard. Up here at rank 3, you've got Full Victory. It's an aura. It increases your crit damage by 20%. Your crit by 20%. Your crit damage by 10% for all allies within 3 tiles of the character. And so, of course, this is a unique aura in that it doesn't overlap with that leadership aura, so this is really nice. It is a good thing to have, and it affects all allies within 3 tiles regardless of their faction, category, whatever. So this is a very great thing to have. However, on the right is Alienation. It's a passive at the turn. It locks on the 3 random enemies within 3 tiles of the character, inflicting no assist, attack down 2, and vulnerable 3 for 2 turns. This being a passive and it doing all that work every turn is absolutely massive. I honestly have a hard time telling you which one to pick at rank 3. I personally see more value in Alienation, but there is a lot to be gleaned from Full Victory. So it's a very good ability. If you can manage to pick up both, I think you'll be good for having it. So this is definitely a Castalia rank. At rank 5, you have Energy Recovery. As his reaction, when hit by an active attack, the damage taken is decreased by 8% upon receiving an active attack, and additionally recovers 1 energy. This is a decent reaction, and I think it's good for his straight damage build, but otherwise it's only decent. And if you're not using him as straight damage and you're using him for his damage over time, then this isn't as good at all. You don't really ever want to rely on someone getting hit, because getting hit is, you know, it's a negative overall. Making a positive out of it's not bad, but yeah, it doesn't seem like the best. So this is mid. I'm happy I have it and I have utilized it, and it's utilizable, but I'd suggest you get what's on the right, and that is Disturbance. This is a reaction, and in the turn, if no damage was dealt during this turn, it inflicts 1 random level 2 attribute debuff and life loss equal to 40% physical attack on 3 random enemies within 3 tiles of the character, lasting for 2 turns. So this is what I'd absolutely suggest you to get. This is a phenomenal reaction. He is just for free, debuffing and inflicting life loss. Really nice on lots of enemies. It's really, really good for that reason. So this is what I'd suggest you to pick up. At rank 7, you have Moment of Crisis. This is his leadership aura for all Alacrity units. It increases your attack by 10%. Obviously, that's normal right here. But when actively attacking or casting support or debuff skills, if the enemy has 3 or more debuffs, the character's attack is increased by 18% and gains Master Strategist for 1 turn. This is a buff where outside of the character's turn, attack is increased by 18%. So as I read right there, this is really, really nice. I use this especially when I'm fighting, you know, when I test him against bosses, and it's damage over time and whatnot. So this is absolutely phenomenal. It is really strong. It absolutely upticked his damage. Good stuff right here. However, this is a Castalia, because on the right is Decoy, and this is what I'm suggesting you to get. This is a debuff where it gathers all enemies within 3 tiles of the character to the surrounding area, then inflicts move down 2 and no active skill for 1 turn. If the character also gains Decoy, lasting for 3 turns, when the effect ends, it receives planning, lasting for 3 turns. So Decoy is massive. So Decoy, what this does is the character cannot be targeted by enemies, but is still affected by AoE damage and environmental damage, but also can be locked onto. Attack is increased by 30%, and it's removed after an active attack. So this is really, really big. As long as you're not hitting enemies and doing physical damage directly and immediately from hitting them, you're good. I'm using that verbiage for a reason. We're going to talk about that right up here next in his basic attacks up here at rank 9. So at rank 9, you have what I'm suggesting you to get. This is another Castalia level if you want to play Lutfi in with diversity. But Hidden Peace is a basic attack / debuff. It steals 3 buffs from the enemy and inflicts 1 random level 2 attribute debuff and life loss equal to 80% physical attack lasting for 2 turns. This does not count as a physical attack. Not only do you get a little bit of range in his attack, but you do this and it doesn't end his decoy. Really, really nice. Good stuff right there. This is a phenomenal basic attack to pick if you're interested in him doing damage over time. Over here on the left, this is a secondary choice, definitely a Castalia, but this is his basic attack. Single target attack does 100% physical damage and inflicts 2 random level 2 attribute debuffs lasting for 2 turns. If the opponent triggers an attack during the skill, performs dodge, then pursuit, dealing 40% physical damage, and the character moves back 1 tile. So this is the way to go if you want him to do direct physical damage. This is the basic attack you want. However, his Hidden Peace over here is a phenomenal basic attack, and that's what I'd suggest you to get. Very, very interesting kit here from Lutfi, where you really want all of the abilities. Now, up here at rank 11, once again, a Castalia level. This ability right here, Checkmate, is 4 energy costs, physical damage, teleports behind the enemy and deals 100% AoE damage 4 times to random enemies within 2 tiles of the target. If attacking the same target repeatedly, damage to the target is reduced by 50%. Before attacking, crit and crit damage are additionally increased by 50%. After attacking, the character receives planning, lasting for 3 turns. So he hits hard with this big AoE, and unless you have him ranked up, star level up, he is sitting tight for 3 turns and can't cast this again. It's pretty debilitating, honestly, considering it's already got a decent cost. So that's a bit of a bummer. But at 5 stars, you can cast this basically every other turn. And yeah, this is a decent ability. It hits really hard. It does some really interesting things. I can see why they kind of checked it, because it does feel strong. So this is secondary for that reason. Definitely worth a Castalia if you have it available. However, on the right, Game-Breaking Flame is what I'm suggesting you to take with a 3 energy cost. It absolutely lives up to its name. This is a debuff and inflicts 2 stacks of ignition on all enemies within 1 tile radius of the target location and turns them into burning tiles. All effects last for 2 turns. This is phenomenal. I mean, he can keep casting it as long as he's got energy. It gives 2 stacks of ignition, so it's a life loss. I mean, and then they're getting scored. Like, it's bonkers. This is a really good one. And moreover, if he's got decoy up, he can't actively attack opponents. Well, this isn't an active attack. It's a debuff. So you throw this, you hit a bunch of enemies, you inflict them with debuff, you create some zone of control where their movement's reduced, trying to walk over flame tiles, yada, 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 and you don't lose your decoy. Really, really strong, good ability. This is what I'd absolutely suggest you to pick up at rank 11. With that all said, let's take a look at his build. Right here we got his direct damage crit build is what I am calling it, because that's what it is. And so we have taken Discovered Check as his basic attack, Energy Recovery as his reaction, Alienation, Checkmate, and Decoy as his abilities. Now, of course, if you're going into a fight where you don't utilize the AoE damage and you're not really worried about it, you will absolutely take extreme edge in that situation instead. For his weapon, Void Stab was the best in-slot weapon for me with this build, doing direct physical damage. This is phenomenal ability, ramping up that crit damage. So this is the best in-slot weapon for this build in particular. I chose Maverick's Cloak, tested a couple other things. This is the one that I like the most on him. He's moving, he's getting around, he gets away from his opponents, he can survive it because away from his allies because he can survive it with that decoy. This is a phenomenal trinket on him, and honestly I used it on all the builds and found it to be my favorite out of all of them. But of course you have other options, but I would highly suggest this. Shield of Justice didn't perform as well and as high in the damage, but it does give him some survivability and on top of his decoy if you're interested in that. And of course you can pursue other things as well. But for me, the Maverick's Cloak is the best in slot in my opinion. And then for his Terror Whisper, I absolutely liked Verdict of Justice here. Yes, he gets that AoE hit and Magician can come do a job, but he's not able to spam his AoE. And so I don't think Magician is the best tarot for him at all. If you're specifically needing him to slap with his AoE one time and be done, or maybe 2 times in fight, whatever the case may be, Magician might be the way to go. But Verdict of Justice covers that as well with that bonus crit damage and the ability to crit. And for me, this was the absolute best in slot damage tarot, helping his direct physical damage based on crit. I mean, this is the one that performed the best and gave the best numbers. Up next, let's talk about his damage over time build. And so right here, what we went with is Hidden Peace, Disturbance, Game-Breaking Flame, Moment of Crisis, and then Alienation. And for his weapon, I have Blade of Stratagem on him right now, but I want you to know I tested all the weapons, trying the different things, and Newborn Blade at 5 stars absolutely outperformed the 1-star Blade of Stratagem. No surprise, right? There's a 2% disparity in the physical attack, but Newborn Blade did outperform it and gave him more survivability with that HP. And we're talking about a margin of like 200. I'll put the numbers up on the screen. But regardless, this is what I had seen. Newborn Blade, 5 stars, absolutely is better. Now, I would see that Blade of Stratagem will absolutely change. Once you get it to 3 stars, it will arguably be his best in slot for his damage over time. And then, of course, at 5 stars, it'll be irrefutable. But 3 stars is the break point. However, I've got it on him right now, just because it's going to be his weapon and nobody else's, and yada, yada, yada. So, really, really good stuff right there. Like it a lot. His Blade of Stratagem absolutely will be strong at 3 stars plus. Great weapon. With that said, his trinket, we got that Maverick's Cloak again. I've tested the other trinkets and tried a couple different things. All of them pale in comparison to the numbers. I know a lot of people talk about Disaster Bottle. I have a level 60 Disaster Bottle, and I tested this and tried it, and there's a 2% difference in the physical attack boost that it gets compared to the Maverick's Cloak, just in what is on it outright. Sorry, 4%, but regardless, like that attack you're getting from the Maverick's Cloak and everything else, Disaster Bottle just pales. Your team, obviously he's going to play in a team, will give you plenty of debuffs. Lots of characters have that. I just would not put a Disaster Bottle on Lutfi at all, in my opinion. Like I said, turn 1, he's putting multiple debuffs on his opponent. He's triggering his trait and everything else. Turn 2, 3, I mean, it's easy to get all those debuffs on him, especially if you pair him with a character that's really good at, like Convallaria. So, absolutely, Maverick's Cloak over everything. It is his best trinket, in my opinion. And then for his Terror Whisper, we have that Redemption of Judgment, where he's, of course, shredding their debuffs with Dispel and then inflicting them with that Judgment, where we're doing extra 10% damage to our enemies. Let me mention the Resonance On both builds, I'm using the blade and the wand resonance because we want that 12% to attack and defense for moving. Each one tile traversed gives us 4%, and he's going to be moving and grooving. This is his absolute best resonance, hands down. With that said, let's take a look at him in battle. So here we are. In this, I used direct, a direct physical attack damage build based on crit, just to have some fun. I enjoy playing him this way because he does smack. So we've got Aisha. She makes him her body, you know, her person to protect. I want to say client. That's funny that is. We got Sophia. We got Dandelion because of his aura. Absolutely awesome. The bonus to damage. Now there we've triggered the decoy. We've gathered everybody up. Now we don't have to worry about him getting smacked around because he's got that decoy up, even though Aisha's away from him. Now, when he gets his next turn, with everybody gathered, we're just gonna smack him around. Come destroy that. We got SP Sophia in the mix too. We like her heals and what she does, and giving that attack boost. Aisha with that crit, she's amazing. Here comes the AoE. Good damage. We dropped quite a few. We're not fussed about that. Little generic Momo doing her thing. Comes SP Sophia, buffing Sophia. Aisha clearing everyone out. It's really all about her. Look at that. It's just a monster. Switch places over there with Lutfi. Come over. He smacks her for a decent amount of damage. Critting at 7,400. Doing this damage, shredding him. As you can see, OG Sophia just an absolute force to be reckoned with still. Aging well, just like wine. Dandelion, not too bad himself. We're gonna walk over here and smack. We don't get the crit, we only hit for 3,300. It's okay damage. And then we get the crit for 11,300 there, 11,300. And so, there you have it. That is Lutfi, his direct physical damage build. Now, arguably, his damage over time is pretty popular. That's what you're going to be using him for a lot. He's going to be supporting your other characters and adding damage in those big boss battles. He just does awesome, great passive damage over time. You know, damage. He's just going to be near them, flicking that, you know, that game-breaking flame and just doing damage over time, just being near him. It's really, really nice. He does really good things on that. I think his damage over time is good for really small groups or single target, but when it gets to really big groups, Lutfi is overwhelmed and he doesn't really have a place. He's not like Convallaria. You can just come in and hit everything on the field with AoE damage over time. But with that all said, Lutfi's got more to his kit than that. He can come in and he can, with that decoy, he can stand in the middle of a crowd and not take any damage and bother enemies, take away, you know, great debuffs, taking away their ability to do those active attacks and so on and so forth. And that vulnerable 3. Can't say enough about that vulnerable 3, which is what makes him such a great supporting character to help main damage dealers against bosses and so on and so forth. I mean, it's just a free vulnerable 3 every turn. Can't brag enough about Lutfi. That's what makes him considered meta. He is a very, very good unit. Are you hurting without him? No, not really. I think that he will absolutely benefit you and do a lot for your game, but he's not so great that you just can't live without him. He just makes the game easier. And if that's what you really want, then yeah, go for him. If you don't, there's nothing wrong with it. Your game's not bricked. You know, you can just keep on rolling. That's why he is rated the way he is. He comes in with a 12 in his physical damage, a 2.5 in his tanking, a 0 in his healing, a 0 in his magic damage, a 6 in his buffs, an 18.5 in his debuffs, and an 18 in his utility. Give him an overall score of 57. Lutfi is a pretty phenomenal character. I'd absolutely suggest you to get him up to 5 stars if you have him. His breakpoint is 3 stars, where he absolutely gets a lot of value out of his trait at 3 stars, reducing that planning down to only 2 turns. However, at 5 stars, he just goes ham, and it is unbelievable. It is one of the stronger 5-star traits in comparison to the other characters. So, with that said, I hope you have enjoyed the video. Lutfi is absolutely phenomenal. Can't speak highly enough about him. He is a great utility character with a lot of diversity, good debuffs, can do good damage, is able to be immune to being single targeted, and is still susceptible to AoE, but it's really nice. He can really help with the zone and control. The AI almost doesn't know what to do sometimes when they can't target them. They'll just move like once and not actually go after other characters. It's really interesting. With that said, he's not bricking your account if you don't have him. You'll survive without him, but he's a great character. Lutfi, fantastic. Check him out. The Prince's Gambit. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for watching up to this point. If you've made it, a huge shout out to my Patreon members. You guys allow me to pursue these characters, to make the pools, to create the guides, to get the signature weapons, to get the materials, get them up. It makes a huge difference in this channel. If you're interested in supporting, make sure you check out the Patreon link down below. I'd be more than happy to have you. Be flattered, honored, and appreciative. And there is a link for the Discord as well. Make sure you check that out. We'll be glad to have you there. We talk all things Sword of Convallaria and then some. And I wish you the best in all of your Sword of Convallaria adventures and otherwise. Take it easy, and until next time, I'll catch you later. Bye.